Hey guys, real quick, I just wanted to share I recorded the first half here on a street corner. My energy's a little low, and I took the break a little early, but stick around because the second half is very robust. Here we go.
Calaroga Shark Media.
From Montreal on the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, I'm Johnny Mack with your daily comedy news. We'll do the late night stuff today. Jimmy Fallon during the week said the Justice Department said that they plan to meet with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. When asked about it, Trump said, "It sounds like an appropriate thing to do." He was like, "Hell, I met her hundreds of times." Seth Meyers said that's right. President Trump reportedly sent Jeffrey Epstein a letter to celebrate his 50th birthday that ends with "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." And then somebody else signed the letter, Exhibit A. That's great. May every day be a wonderful secret? To me, that sounds kind of like, P.S. remind me to Venmo you for the sex. By the way, tomorroor night at the Beacon Theater, Sunday night, keep an eye on John Oliver and Seth Meyers doing a show. I'm sure they'll talk about Colbert. Jenna Friedman weighed in on Colbert Gate. She was on the Last Laugh podcast and said, like a lot of things right now, there's no definitive proof, but we don't know exactly why the show was canceled. Was it for ratings? Was it because of political reasons? I think the larger issue is for me is that I personally look to comedians I admire, particularly outspoken political comedians, in times of uncertainty. And just the fact that Colbert's show was canceled so swiftly in such a scary moment really made me sad. She talked about her appearance on the show in 2016 and said she took comfort in knowing that things are going to be okay for us as long as people like Stephen Colbert are on the air, able to say what they're saying. That at least is one sign of a democracy that is not totally in palliative care. So this news is just another notch on, I'm not sure what the right analogy is, the tool belt towards fascism. Friedman talked about trying to re-enter the U.S. from Canada. Uh-oh, I better pay attention here. She told the border guard she was performing comedy, and, quote, for some dumb reason I decided to flirt with him, and I was like, I joke about everything other than airport security. The border guard asked her, do you make fun of politicians? She said no, and says the guy wasn't trying to troll me or tease me. He literally was just following orders. It was such a benign but insidious question. It felt shocking. Matt Rife was very excited that he sold out Madison Square Garden 2 shows last weekend. He posted on Insta, wow, we really did it? I hope I get to do it for the rest of my life. Jesse McCartney posted, epic night, brother. So happy for you. I skimmed down here and I saw the word McCartney. I was like, Paul McCartney likes Matt Rife? But no, it's Jesse McCartney. That makes more sense. Variety's Comedy Impact honoree Nikki Glaser on how stand-up saved her life. She said, we all thought I was going to die. Her friend Lisa Lampanelli, who's also my friend, says Nikki is a kind person. She didn't want to use the word nice because I think nice is wishy-washy. You look at comics who get away with the stuff they say, Howard Stern, Don Rickles, Jeff Ross, it's because they have an underlying kindness and a good goal. She leads with her heart and her vulnerability. Glaser admits, I want to be liked desperately, but not for any reason that isn't really me. Nikki doesn't stick around for standing ovation. In fact, I'm always kind of sprinting off the stage because I feel bad that I'm wasting any more of people's time. One time, she even refunded the price of someone's ticket. Nikki says, if someone messages me about how I made them feel bad or they felt like I ruined their night, I'll Venmo them back their money because I want people to have a good time at my show. I'm in awe that people pay so much to see me. They get a babysitter, they get all dressed up, they get dinner. The worst thing I could do is make them feel bad for themselves, be late to the show, or disrespect them in some way. That's my deepest fear. She then talked about growing up. I could never ask my parents about what sex was about because they would have given me euphemisms about literally birds and bees. I didn't appreciate being lied to as I grew up. I really suffered being lied to for too long. I believed in Santa Claus way too late. Nikki says she grew up clamoring for the truth. I think that's why I gravitated towards stand-up, because you get to tell the truth. The things I say in a microphone feel like the ultimate rebellion for having been shamed for the things I said as a kid. Plenty more there. You'll find that in Variety. I'll pick at that in the next couple days. Right now, I got to go catch another show here at the Montreal Comedy Festival, so we'll take the break, and then we'll come right back. From The Hollywood Reporter, Happy Gilmore 2 review, Adam Sandler's Netflix sequel is terrible, and fans will love it. The reporter writes, there are so many clips from its predecessor that even those who never saw the original film, and they are lucky people, will have no trouble catching up. Add that to the many original performers reprising their roles, the constant callbacks, and the nonstop nostalgia, and the result is less a continuation than an exercise in fan service. If you're watching Happy Gilmore 2 at home, don't be surprised if some of the cast members show up at your door offering autographed pictures for a fee. Every minute of the film features a reference to the original in one form or another. It all feels extremely lazy and self-indulgent, especially Sandler's tendency to cast nearly everyone he's ever worked with or ever met. The cameos here are so voluminous that you need a cheat sheet to keep up, although most of them barely make an impression. Sandler lazily walks through the film looking, as one character describes him, like someone who got divorced 4 seconds ago. I mean, I am just shocked. I mean, the thought that an Adam Sandler comedy movie is not hilarious? I mean, who knew? Why didn't anyone ever bring this up? I like this 1-star review. TJ Moto posted, "It was horrible. The movie was so bad, I actually like Jack and Jill better." Wow. I mean, that just speaks volumes. I've shared this before in my household. When that movie came out on pay-per-view, my kids wanted to rent it, and I said I would rather set the $5 on fire and would not let them rent Jack and Jill. DJ Moto writes, "There was way too many cameos, and Happy Gilmore was not the Happy Gilmore character we all love." Well, speak for yourself. Slash Films review. Happy Gilmore 2, the comedy sequel, takes a big swing, but completely whiffs it. Happy Gilmore 2 is an absolute slog of a comedy that takes everything that made the original movie great and regurgitates it into something resembling a dodgeball sequel crashed into professional golf outing. When there are jokes that aren't callbacks, they're either so dumb or make such little sense that you're wondering how they ever made it onto the page. I'm not surprised they made it on the page at all. Have you guys not been paying attention for 30 years? While there may be a stray chuckle here and there, thanks to a genuinely clever line or surprising cameo, those moments are few and far between. Happy Gilmore 2 is a poor excuse for nostalgic comedy, and you'd have more fun getting a colonoscopy with a rake. They gave it a 2 out of 10. Got a bunch of movie news. I'll do it all back to back to back to back. Spinal Tap 2, the trailer is out, and I watched it this morning, and I was all excited for it, and I'm worried about this one. Not looking too good in this trailer. Trailer not looking too funny. I went to pull the audio, and it just wouldn't make sense for this audio podcast. In the trailer, we see filmmaker Marty DiBergi catching up with the Spinal Tap crew. They all look quite old. I think they have been made up to look even older than they do in real life. The trailer then shows us efforts by the band to reunite for one last hurrah, including their efforts to recruit a drummer suicidal enough to play the gig, their merchandising efforts. There is a pretty decent joke about that, and whether one or two of them dying on stage would help boost publicity for the gig and cement their legacy. Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell are attached to Tough Guys. Now, I'll point out, it's been a minute for Will here. I recently walked you through his IMDb. It's been a minute. Tough Guys follows two henchmen who are tired of being disposable and break free from the criminal underworld, rewriting the rules as they build a new life on their own terms. In better comedy movie news, supposedly the upcoming Naked Gun reboot is good. I've seen nothing but good reviews of it. Now, you noticed they didn't release anything about Happy Gilmore 2 until Friday morning. That's always a tell. With Naked Gun, they're going the other way and they're getting the word out. Leslie Nielsen plays Frank Drebin Jr. Screen Rant says first reactions are praising the reboot as hilariously nostalgic, smartly silly, and laugh-out-loud funny. Eric Davis writes, I can finally talk about how obsessed I am with the Naked Gun reboot. Director Akiva Schaffer, you know him from Lonely Island, and his work is usually quite strong, so I'll believe it. Akiva Schaffer delivers a hilarious film stuff with hundreds of gags that very much honors the original series. Haven't laughed that much in a while. Walked out feeling amazing. Highly recommend. Wow. JoeBlow.com wrote, my thoughts, holy hell. The Naked Gun is the funniest flick I've seen for a while. Liam Neeson is so freaking perfect as Frank Drebin Jr., and the comedic chemistry he shares with Pamela Anderson is absolutely wonderful. One sequence had me in tears laughing so hard. It's 85 minutes. It's an enjoyable watch from start to finish. August 1st. Did you see the South Park episode about Donald Trump? That made quite the news on Thursday and Friday. The White House reacted to the episode. Trey Parker said, we're terribly sorry. In case you missed it, unlike other characters on South Park, Trump is depicted as an actual photo of Trump on an animated body. The body has a rather small penis. There's also a very realistic-looking deepfake video of Trump completely naked walking in a desert, also with a very small penis. The White House did not find this funny. White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers said in a statement, this show hasn't been relevant for over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas and a desperate attempt for attention. President Trump has delivered on more promises in just 6 months than any other president in our country's history, and no fourth-rate show can derail President Trump's hot streak. At Comic-Con, Parker said they did get a note from the producers. The note apparently said, okay, but we're going to blur the penis. And I said, no, you're not going to blur the penis. Matt Stone said the team decided to put eyes on the penis, which would make it a character, explaining if we put eyes on the penis, we won't blur it. There was a whole conversation with grown-up people for 4 effing days. What will happen next week? Parker said, I don't know what next week's episode is going to be. Even just 3 days ago, we were like, I don't know if people are going to like this. Stone explained how he and Trey Matty said, we met over Monty Python. In this day when PBS is getting their funding cut, that's how I found Monty Python. Also from Comic-Con, Comedy Central announced Beavis and Butthead is coming back September 3rd. Beavis and Butthead look a little older than they used to. Everything that's old is new again. All right, let's see what's happening here in Montreal at the festival. 1 p.m., Just for Laughs Pilots. 3:30, Just for Laughs Shorts. 6:30, the Fortune Feimster Gala. Danny Boy at 7, Brit-ish at 7. Malik El-Assal at 7. Jack Turner at 7. Chris DiStefano at 7. Mary Beth Barone at 7. Matthew Broussard at 7. New Faces character Encore at 7. Deanne Smith Cannon Fodder, 8:30. Leslie Lau at 9. Dropout Improv, 9:30. Nick Mohammed, we'll talk about him in a second, at 9:30. Mikey Day Gala, 9:30. Shay Darina, 9:30. JFLGBTQ+, hosted by Alan Cumming, 9:30. New Faces Stand-Up Encore, 9:30. Gianmarco Cerezi at 10 o'clock. Business Casuals presents Cowboys at 10:30. Business Casual is a sketch comedy trio from Los Angeles. The show, spoilers, tells the story of a gunslinging cowboy seeking revenge on 3 men who killed his family. He must assemble a posse and set out on the journey of a lifetime. Along the way, the group encounter gold miners, snake oil salesmen, and just about every Western trope you could think of. It sounds fun. Tough slot, though, on Saturday. I feel like that might have played better on, Wednesday night, Thursday night. There's a lot going on tonight. Midnight Surprise, 11:59. Roy Wood Jr., 11:59. Comedy Confidential, 11:59. Nick Mohammed's show, again, 9:30. He did one the other night, got a really good review. This from the Montreal Gazette, which, unrelated, says, Montreal reports rise in monkeypox cases. Oh, good. That's great news if you've been in theaters in Montreal all week. Yeah, if the show disappears for a couple days, that might be why. The Gazette, when not reporting about monkeypox, says, Nick attired in a glittering gold lame jacket. He speaks frenetically in a high-pitched tone and displays a sort of high-end energy that sounds like way too much helium intake. His act is mentalism, magic, music, drama, and yes, comedy. He explains Mr. Swallow is a character, truly based on a teacher of mine that I've been doing since I was 15 in my school playground, and professionally for the last 20 years. It's been with me so long. I've always loved magic and mentalism, but that sort of crept out of my career once other comedy took over. I used to gig as a working magician, table hopping at weddings and hotels, and I've tried to refine it a little. He talked about playing Nate on Ted Lasso and said the role actually got quite challenging towards the end, but I've always loved the idea of being quite malleable in terms of the way you inhabit a different character. For me, that's the real joy of being an actor. It's weird because for the first season, we were all quite sheltered from the success of it. We weren't traveling because of COVID, but now we can't get away from it, and we're all so grateful for it. It doesn't sound like Nate is part of season 4. He said, who knows? We'll have to see. And then gave out a big laugh. I know they're in Kansas. They're filming in Kansas City. I know they're in Kansas at the moment, so we'll see what happens. I'm being very coy, but he says it with no trace of bitterness. So the Montreal Gazette thinks Nate will be back. He says, those are all good theories, and don't forget, they filmed those shows over a long time. Michelle Bateau says once you get the gala spot at JFL, it feels like you've won Formula One. There are a handful of things, especially New York comedians, always talk about getting an SNL audition, a late-night spot, and JFL was right up there, so this is very exciting. I mean, it's been a long time. Very happy to be doing it. She likes connecting with people around the world. She said, there's a non-binary teenager in Kenya that's reaching out to me, a 62-year-old lesbian in Bulgaria. Then there's cities in Brazil using my catchphrase. If there's going to be monkeypox up here, I may have to return back to New Jersey. And there is a comedy festival in Montclair, New Jersey. Instead of moving to Canada, I could have just driven 25 minutes to the Montclair Comedy Festival. Colin Armstrong was one of the performers there this weekend. Colin likes the energy from doing comedy in Jersey that you can't get anywhere else. He says people are more open to laughing about darker stuff than we're willing to admit. And as long as you know where the morsels of funny are, people are going to be receptive to it. He praised Chris Gethard as a great guy and the godfather of Jersey comedy. I got to do a few shows with him, which was really special and nice. It's just good, fun times. Jersey is more open to darker subject matter than if I were doing shows in, say, San Francisco. San Francisco, legendary, uptight city? Question mark? If it's funny, it's funny. But it's a very interesting dynamic of what out-of-state audiences will and won't laugh at for some reason. He says Jersey audiences tend to have more hecklers. Being from New Jersey is a uniquely brutal experience. I grew up with everybody making fun of everyone, and nobody's not a target. If you got picked on, you learn how to take that stank off you by making fun of someone else. And that is your comedy news for today. I'm going to go get my monkeypox vaccine and hope for the best. See you tomorrow, I guess.